Is this the planer you should spend your hard-earned money on? Let's find out today on Salty Woodworking. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, why should I buy this planer, which is $700 over any other planer? Which I know the planer most people know about is the DeWalt 735X, which is actually the planer that I've been using for over a year now myself. For $700, this planer already comes with the helical cutter head in it, which if you're watching this video, most likely you're researching planers, which if you're researching planers, most likely you've heard of a helical cutter head. If you haven't, I'm going to put one up on the screen on what the head looks like itself, the actual cutter head. Basically, it's a bunch of little carbide bits instead of 3 long knives that come in a normal planer head. Most of the time, these helical heads are in kind of a spiral formation, and what that does, as the planer is turning, it's all hitting the wood at separate times, so that helps reduce the chance of tear out and snipe. Not so much snipe, but more or less mainly for tear out. It also produces a smoother overall finish with a plain product, and it's usually a quieter operation. At least that's what they say. Now, look, I'm gonna be completely honest here. My DeWalt 735X has a helical head planer in it. The same company here that made this planer, Fine by Tool, sent me out their helical head to try out in my DeWalt planer. If you haven't checked out that video, I'll go ahead and put a link up here or this side, whichever side it is. I'll click a link on it so you can go ahead and watch that video if you'd want to just do a head upgrade yourself. So I've had about 5 months of use with my DeWalt 735X that has a helical head planer in it. And I gotta say, it's an absolute game changer. I mean, the finish that comes out of the planer is like a 220 grit finish. But the downside of it is that planer alone is, $600, $700 depending on what time you get it, just for the planer. And then you gotta upgrade the helical cutter head, which isn't that big of a deal, but from Fine by Tool, I think it's around $350. So you have to tack on that extra price along with the planer itself. And that's if you were to go with Fine by Tool. If you were to go with some other companies, their cutter heads alone can be up to $700 to $800 just for the cutter head. So that's why this planer here brings such a great value. For $700, you're getting a running planer, a benchtop planer that already has a helical cutter head in it. It's a great deal. Now, haven't turned it on yet, just took it out of the box. We're going to find out how good it is. I'm going to test it against my DeWalt 735X, which before you click off the video, yes, it does have a helical cutter head in it, but I used it for almost a year with straight knives. So I'll be able to tell you the differences that I feel between using this planer and the DeWalt one. Now, the DeWalt one's the only one I have to compare it against to, but that's the one that most people end up, buying, or the one that's, I guess, the most talked about more than anything. Now, to be completely fair, Fine by Tool did send me this planer. This isn't a sponsored video by any means. They didn't pay me anything at all. They simply sent me out this planer and told me to review it, make a video, and be 100% honest. So I have zero bias going into this, and I plan on telling the full truth. So let's get into this thing. Let's go over the details, and let's see if this is the right planer that you should spend your money on. So a lot of people might see this planer and think, how can it be so cheap? And is it going to be a not so great product because of how cheap it is? It's a Chinese-based company and they sell direct to consumer. I don't think there's any stores that you can go buy Fine by Tool products in. So with the method of shipping directly to consumer, you're not having to pay any markups that would be in like a normal big box store. So that gives you an opportunity to get a great product at a cheaper rate. So let's talk about what comes in the box. Unboxing it, it mainly is put together almost completely, which is fantastic. The only thing that you have to add is the dust collection chute, which also comes with a 2.5-inch adapter. So you can use your normal shop vac if you don't have a 4-inch dust collector. So that's fantastic. And the only other thing that comes with in the box that isn't put together is your handle for your height control. 1 simple screw there, 2 simple screws in the back for the dust collection chute, and it's fully put together. All you gotta do is plug it into an outlet and you're ready to start planing. So let's talk about some of the features that this planer comes with. It is a normal 110 volt planer, so you can just plug it into a normal wall socket. It's not like an industrial planer that you have to have a 220 socket for. It has an on-off switch that you just pull to turn on and push to turn off. It also has a safety mechanism that you can pull out, so whenever you're trying to turn the switch on, it doesn't. Which is great to have if you have kids that come around your shop. You can unplug this so you don't have to worry about them turning it on and hurting themselves somehow. It has a fuse on it, which I'm assuming is probably a 15 amp fuse, so it'll trip that first before tripping your main breaker. At least it should. It's got an 1800 watt, 15 amp motor, which should be more than powerful enough to do basically anything that you're going to fit inside this planer. The total cut capacity you have of this thing is 6 inches tall and 13 inches wide, which that's a pretty big piece of wood, but you got that room if you need it. It also has a depth gauge on the front of it so you can see how much you're going to take off on your piece of wood. Now, the one downside I will say about this in comparison to the DeWalt planer is it is only here in the middle. So if you put a piece off to the side, you're not going to be able to see how big of a depth of cut you're taking. Where on the DeWalt one, this is like a blade that goes all the way across. It comes with spring-loaded tables, so that holds it up out the way. Now, downside about this, it won't go up all the way because of the dust collection chute being in the way. So, I mean, that could be a downside for some people, depending on how you store this. If you kind of just tuck it up, but you need a small space. Now, to be completely fair, it takes 2 seconds to take this dust collection chute off. It's 2 screws in the back and it pops off. So, is an option if you would need it. This planer also has a positive depth stop on it, which I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't love this one in comparison to the DeWalt one, which you just turn a knob for and you can easily set the depth stop like that. It just feels clunky and cheap in my opinion. This one does have an adjustment screw so you can fine tune this depth stop if you need to. It also has a height gauge on the side here, which is in Freedom units and in the metric system, which of course, you know, if you're an American, you're going to be using them good old bald eagles. With all the features out the way, let's put some wood through this thing and see just how well it cuts. Or if it cuts well at all. Let's find out. Now that I got them side by side, let's talk about the differences between these two that I've noticed without even turning this one on yet. Now, the quality of this planer isn't bad by any means. Just some of the controls are lacking a little bit of the quality that I'm used to with the DeWalt. For instance, the depth handle to change your height of cut just doesn't feel as smooth as what the wheel does here on the DeWalt. The DeWalt has 2 feed speeds which control the speed that the wood goes through the planer. The Fine by Tool helical head cutter does not have that. It's only 1 speed. Haven't turned it on yet to see just what it's at, but I like having the option to slow it down or speed it up on the DeWalt planer depending on what project I'm working on. So I still have a bunch of Sepilia left over from that picnic table build that I did here in my garage. By the way, if you haven't checked that out, I'll put the link up here. Once again, whichever side it is, go check it out. It's a pretty cool build. Built a $3,000 table right here in my garage. Anyways, I have this left over from that project, so I'm going to use that as a test piece for both planers. Now, once again, just to reiterate, I do have a helical cutter head in this planer, but I used it for about a year with the normal straight knives, so I can kind of tell you the difference on the two and how they cut. But since they both have the same exact cutter head in it, they should cut identically, but I'll be able to see the performance difference between both machines. With all that being said, let's send some test passes through and then we'll analyze the results. Now, if you haven't already, please drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I promise you, it helps out more than you think. So I ran both pieces of Sepilia through each planer, through the DeWalt and through the Fine by Tool. Let's go over them. This piece here is from the Fine by Tool. I mean, you can see just how smooth it is, which is crazy, but to be completely fair, it is brand new fresh blades. But this honestly feels like 180 to 200 grit. And this is the piece from the DeWalt planer, which, like I said, it has a helical head in it, which actually, it probably won't pick it up on camera, but there's a few marks on there where I need to flip the blades around and you can see some snipe right here. But it's not too bad at all. That being said, I know this isn't the most perfect comparison because they both have helical heads in it, but what I can tell you is I used a straight knife planer for about a year and the finish is night and day. I mean, You literally can run stuff through the planer through one of these helical heads, and you really don't even have to do much sanding at all, if any, depending on what project you're working on. Let's put these up and come up with a conclusion between these two. So let's talk about it. Is this the right planer for you? Now, I'm going to be completely honest here. If you don't have a planer already, I think it's kind of a no-brainer to go ahead and get this planer. Reason being because it already comes with the helical head. I am a fanboy, I guess you would call it, whenever it comes to helical heads. And to get into a full-blown planer with one at this price point, you honestly can't beat it. Like I said, the DeWalt planer alone is $600 or $700, and then you got to get a helical head on top of it, which can be anywhere from like $300 to $800, depending on what company you go with. Now, like I said, Find by Tool reached out to me and told me to review this thing, but they did not give me any money to promote this thing whatsoever. But my honest opinion is it's a very good planer, and I think it's a good buy. If I had $700 laying around and I didn't have a planer and I was looking to get one, this is most definitely the option I would go with. The only other option I would go with, to be completely honest, like a used older industrial planer for this kind of price range, but that's pretty far in between to find. So I think this is overall a good buy. Now, pros and cons. I think the build quality on the Find by Tool planer isn't as good as what the DeWalt is, and I'm sure as some of the other big names are. Just some things feel a little bit cheap. Now, I don't mean cheap to the point that they feel like they're going to break, just that it's not the like high quality tactile feel that I guess I'm more aligned used to. The dust collection on the Find by Tool wasn't quite as good as what the DeWalt one is, but I mean I'm gonna get nitpicky there. You can see in the video that it's not that massive of a difference, but there is a tiny bit of a difference, which I had both planers hooked up to my Harbor Freight dust collector. It's a cheaper dust collector, but it gets the job done. Now, like I said, the cut quality of this machine is incredible. It's got a helical head, so it's just smooth, right out the planer. Do a little bit of sanding, and your project is good to go. I mean, it's the finish, really, truthfully, I can't explain how much better it is in comparison to a straight knife cutter until you can put your hands on a piece of wood that's already been through a helical planer and, nothing else. Just straight off the belt, try it, see how it feels. I mean, it's a night and day difference between straight knife blades. So in conclusion, I think if you don't have a planer, this is one that's very, very good to buy. If you do have a planer already, it is a worthwhile investment on getting a helical cutter head. Now that could be from Find by Tool, that could be from other companies. There's a few out there that make them. I highly recommend Find by Tool just because I've used them. Like I said, I've had mine in my DeWalt planer for over 5 months now, and that thing gets used every day, and I've never had a single issue with it. It's just now getting to the point where I have to kind of switch some blades around, but to be completely fair, it's probably from my own doing. But we don't talk about that. But in conclusion, I think this is a good planer to buy. 10 out of 10. I'm going to go ahead and put the salty stamp of approval on this thing. I think it's a great planer to buy. Pick one up if you don't have a planer. With that being said, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a comment. Let me know. If you like seeing tool reviews from me, please also let me know because I'm kind of starting to think of implementing tool reviews into some of my videos. I got a pretty budget-friendly audience, and I have a lot of budget-friendly tools. So if that's something you want to see, drop a comment below and let me know. As usual, get in your shop, build something, and stay salty. See y'all later.